kind of almost got this like mentor mentee father son kind of vibe out
For
of
sure.
it, which was kind of how it played out. So
Yeah,
you get that.
I liked it. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's a super cool movie. It is. I've always been like nerdy about like biker gang and like biker culture and stuff. Of like not necessarily like just because of Sons of Anarchy, which I did love Sons of Anarchy. But like there's been a ton of documentaries and stuff on like the Hells Angels and Mongols and stuff like that, which are just they fascinate.
Welcome back.
Sorry.
There you go. Welcome back to the Movie Dads Podcast. We're your hosts, Howie.
I'm Kyle.
And that is Kyle. Kyle's back, episode number 53. The big premiere movie of the week. The 2023, technically, American crime drama, The Bikeriders. So we're going to talk about that for our big premiere. As we do with any other premiere movie, we'll talk about it, give like very vague details about the movie, tell you whether we recommend you see it in theaters or not, give you a spoiler warning, and then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty details of the movie. But if you're watching us on YouTube, please click that like and subscribe. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Tell your friends, tell your family. Click the bell, get alerts on when new episodes come out. If you're not watching us on YouTube, hopefully you're listening to us on many podcast networks such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. You can also see some of our short clips and videos on social media at Movie Dads Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. As always, we start off, we're movie dads. We've got movie kids. Not a ton this week. Ooh, calendar's been a little clear, and I'm okay with that. I've been just focused on work, basically, and it has been a billion freaking degrees outside. So there has been a lot of pool time, which I know you know very well. I got to talk about this because I think it's hilarious. But last night, Reagan had a friend over, and then one of Dez's buddies down the street, Hendrix, like his mom's like, hey, can he come over for a couple hours? And we're like, yeah, sure, you can come swim. So they're swimming, and then your son invites him over to your pool, and then all of a sudden there's like 7 kids in your pool.
Dude, well, one, that's par for the course with owning the pool. Just like, hey, when it's time to get in the pool, like we just generally are like, hey, we're getting in the pool, everybody. If anybody wants to get in, you're fine. But like, yes, and I get really annoyed, not from people being in the pool. I love like, hey, come over and swim. But like, I knew that I could tell like, hey, they have a planned hangout. And then my son, Grayson, just fucking like a bull in a china shop. He doesn't think at all about that. He just runs over. He's like, hey, come on over here, guys. And like, just totally takes over the world.
But that was one of those things. Like his mom had literally texted us last minute. It was like, hey, we have an errand to run. Can he hang out with you guys? And we're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Sure. No problem.
Yeah. But yeah, so the second that though your two came over, another kid down the street like was standing at the gate with a towel and his face. It was like, can I come in too? I'm like, do your parents know you're here? Okay.
Yeah, so he comes over to my house and like with trunks and a towel, and he's like, hey, can I come swim? And I'm like, there's nobody here, but yeah. And he's like, where are they at? And I'm like, they're next door. That's when he came over there. I was like, okay. Yes. But anyway, yes, it's been super freaking hot. So a lot of time in the pool. We have to drain our pool, which sucks so bad because some of the posts, we had a leak at the very beginning when we filled it up. So like some of the posts like came off their blocks and sank. So it's uneven. Shit. So now it's like, we need to drain it. The water was 92 degrees. It's okay. I'm okay with draining it because it's like bath water at this point. It's gross. So we got to do that. So that's what's been kind of going on with the kids. Mostly Reagan and I we started. So Reagan's obviously seen all the MCU movies, right? And she goes to all of them with me, which is like kind of been our thing since she was little. And she's seen all the X-Men movies. But she hasn't seen the 3 solo Wolverine movies. So we started just a couple nights ago. We watched X-Men Origins Wolverine. which is worse than I remember it because it's been a minute. God, it is the
God,
CGI. The CGI is awful.
so bad.
Holy cow! I forgot how bad it was.
That bathroom scene where he has his claws, the claws literally, you see them like
they're
move.
cartoony, and he's like,
yeah, they move
in the
on
mirror, and you're like, that looks worse than shit in Roger Rabbit. Like that's worse. Anyway, and that's probably the first time I watched it in 4K. So yeah, it was bad. And then 2 days later, we watched The Wolverine, which I had told you I really like The Wolverine. I think it's underrated. Man, that's a great movie, man. It's an awesome movie. It really is. That story's great.
I have not seen that in a very long time.
All the Japanese stuff. And then like the son of like the old guy is Hiroyuki Sanada, Scorpion. Right?
Oh, yeah.
He's in Shogun. And I completely forgot it was him, but I should have remembered because like it's every movie with a Japanese dude in it, pretty much is him. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean like it seems like it anymore. It is. And anyway, and then I think tonight after we record, we're going to watch Logan. So
the best of all of them.
Yeah, and then that way we're prepped and we're ready to go for Wolverine and Deadpool next month. So
fuck yeah. Love that. We are in a movie kick in our house as well. I don't know how or why, but like I was putting the boys down to bed a couple of days ago and was like, we watched Batman Forever that one time, but do we ever watch Batman and Robin? Like with Mr. Freeze and Bane? I'm going to put that on. And Jesus Lord, they fucking love it.
Oh,
so
boy.
It was so funny because like 2 nights later, I was like, we're having a movie night tonight because I just realized you guys have never seen like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, which you're still, Parker's a little young, like, but Grayson's now at a point where he's watching some of these older movies and likes them, like the fucking Planet of the Apes movies. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do a cool movie night. We'll set up the cool lights so it feels like a movie theater. They like doing that, get candy and stuff. And we'll do Batman Begins. And they liked it. They were like, they thought it was cool, but I could tell Parker was like, this is boring. Where's Mr. Freeze? So it was just so funny to like have them like one of the worst Batman movies ever.
But that's why they made those movies that way.
Yes.
It was all to kids and the commercialism. And
it is true. It's true. I will say, watching it back, like, again, I've talked about this multiple times. That at the time when Batman and Robin came out, I was not at an age where I thought of movies as like, that's a bad movie or that's a good movie. It was just like, this is Batman. And I like wasn't like, oh my God, they're doing a new actor to be Batman. Like, what's going on? I was just like, this is its own standalone Batman movie. And I liked Mr. Freeze. I thought Bane was freaking cool. I thought Robin was dope. Batman just didn't seem like he was very Batman in the movie. But watching it back, Mr. Freeze has some freaking great one-liners in this. Arnold really leans into being a freaking horrible, cartoony villain. But when you look at it from a standpoint of they were going for like a modern Adam West version of Batman, like goofy, cartoony, Arnold freaking killed it. Like, it was not a good movie, but I really enjoy. It was a good nostalgia to go back, and my kids freaking loved it. So, anyways, hopefully, when they get a little bit older, they will enjoy Batman Begins more than they enjoy Batman and Robin. So, but that brings us into my most excited segment, our 6 to Midnight. This is a segment where we talk about movie news, new nerd news, the things that get us up in the morning this week, the things we're excited about. There's been a ton of stuff that's come out. I feel like, I don't know, we just turned out to be on like the superhero kick this episode because of certain people, at least on my side. But the Superman suit, we finally got a ton of shots of the set of freaking David Corn Sweat's Superman suit. I know we got James Gunn's like reveal photo that was controversial when it came out, and we had some back and forth on it, and I was kind of an annoying fan. But overall, getting to see like front, the back, kind of what it looks like, kind of moving around, like I'm not mad about it. I think it'll work. I'm not like there's a shot from behind him, Giggity, where like you can see the yellow like symbol on the cape, which is cool. They're bringing that back. It looked very iconic, just him standing there and his cape draped down. So
I agree. I thought it looks like a great blend of like classic Reeves Superman and Henry's suit, right? Like it feels like a good blend. Like he's got the shorts, the underoos are on the outside. The colors are bright too, right? Like that's a bright red, the bright yellow. The blue's a little toned down, but it's still pretty blue compared to Henry Cavill's suit was. It does look like it fits better with him standing than it did sitting in that goofy chair putting his boots on.
Giant rubber scuba suit.
It still does look like a rubber suit to me.
It's very heavy.
It does.
Thick.
It looks like, the kind of thing you wear ice fishing. I don't know, but
to me, like, well, one, you can see that what I had said was, I mean, everyone pointed out the collar was very New 52, but the New 52 his like a weird like rounded like emo wrist cuffs that go a little like over his wrist, and you could see it. That is very much there. There's a lot of like lines and piping through it. It is very inspired by the New 52 Superman in those specific aspects, which I think are like very noticeable parts of the suit. Like Superman doesn't usually have a collar on, so that's new. The wrist gauntlets look weird, but we got the briefs, looks great. It's super bright red and vibrant. I like the symbol. The chest symbol is cool. It's like a blend of the old school stuff.
I'm with you. I'm not mad about it. Like now that I see it in daylight and the color and standing, I'm not mad about it either. It's different. So credit to that. It's different.
Like right before we started filming, we got some snaps of Clark Kent version, and he's got like the dried curly floof, like it's very modern, like the kids these days, the teenagers.
It's very different. It's not the typical just like comb over dorky Clark Kent that you expected to see, right? It's it's all curly. It's like I don't know. He's got a merkin on his head or something. I don't know what the hell, but
it's modernized, which I think is great. That was one of the other things that, like, because I'm just such a nerd. Like the thing I didn't like about Henry Cavill's Superman is like that he has this like kind of mini afro thing of hair that is like just slicked back everywhere. There's a more modern, like the last 10 years, like kind of version of Superman where he's got like the kind of the shaved, the buzzed, tapered side with that like kind of coif top. I was hoping we would get that because I feel like every live action Superman we've got is just like his hair is fucking long as shit and they just grease the shit out of it. So anyways, I'm happy. It looks fun. I'm excited.
And they showed Mr. Terrific looks straight out of the comic book. And that's I think there was only one or two pictures of him, but that looked pretty neat too. I thought I was pretty happy with that.
James Gunn also posted something where he had mentioned David Cornsweet and who's Lois Lane that's going to be in this movie.
Rachel Brosnahan.
He posted this like really insightful post about just how like impressive those two are and their chemistry, and like just the thing that he posted got me excited for the movie of like
nice.
He was like, these two are like awesome and I cannot wait for people to see like them in this movie. So anyways, Superman suit, it's great. What do you got?
That's excellent. I'm glad we talked about that. First thing I wanted to talk about today was we got a trailer today for a movie that like disappeared off the radar last year. And there was no news that this movie was getting delayed until like right before Christmas. But this movie's been in the can for like a year, filmed, ready to rock and roll. And it was supposed to come out Christmas last year. Problem with the Christmas movie is if you're delaying a Christmas movie because you can't do marketing due to a strike, you can't delay a Christmas movie till February, right? Like you're in trouble. It's not going to be a summer movie. So the trailer for Red One came out today, which is like a Santa Claus action movie with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, and then J.K. Simmons as the man in the suit, old Santa Claus, Saint Nick himself. But it looks like it's kind of like The Rock is Santa's like security dude, and he like
his
runs all the
one helper.
He trains him. He like trains him to be strong, and so they show him like doing like 400 and some reps on a barbell.
Yes.
And but anyway, it looks Santa comes up missing. They need Chris Evans's help. He's like a tracker or something. And anyway, they showed Krampus was in the trailer. The Headless Horseman was in the trailer. There was some other like demon thing in the trailer. I don't know what the heck it was because they didn't show it very much. But it looks different. Be something kind of modernized and cool for the kids. But then I thought it was neat. We're going to actually get Klaus, the voice of Klaus, in live action as Santa Claus. So I thought that was kind of neat too because I like J.K. Simmons a lot.
Dude, right? Actually, that's such a great point, which we didn't text about that when we were going back and forth on it. But like, look at him, the little Mr. Santa, his live action and the animated. When you say it out loud, that movie sounds like, okay, like this is good.
You're right.
But stupid. And the trailer looks like people are gonna not like it, but for me, I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm gonna fucking love this movie. This looks like a ton of fun. I love me some Christmas movies. The Rock, I feel like, is the same person in every movie ever, but it works in this movie because he's like playing this like he's like the like straight and narrow kind of like soldier guy who's serious about his job, but his job is literally like Santa Claus's number one. It's like it feels very military, but he's fucking Santa Claus's protector. So looks great. We finally feels like 7 years later got to now know what the movie was that J.K. Simmons had those like
guns
jacked workout pictures from years ago that everyone's like, is he going to be jacked as Jim Gordon in the Justice League? And here we go. We finally got the movie. So looks good. I think I said to you, Chris Evans. They say his name is Jack something. Yeah. But I think maybe I think maybe he's going to be Jack Frost. I'm calling it now. But anyways, cool. Love that. You also sent me, what I thought was a trailer for a documentary about Kevin Conroy, but it wasn't a trailer. It was the full documentary they dropped. So you had mentioned this, but basically when they did the Batman the Mask of the Phantasm, like remastered Blu-ray
30th anniversary last fall. Yep.
30th anniversary, they had this like special documentary that's just basically like giving Kevin Conroy, the Batman, his flowers.
It's called I Am the Knight, Knight.
Yeah. And they just posted it, WB posted it on YouTube and immediately watched it. It's amazing. Kevin Conroy was just like awesome. He's a rock star Batman. He was a rock star Bruce Wayne. Really, really kind of superstar for the LGBTQ community. So like, I don't think a lot of people know that. I feel like usually whenever that comes up, I have friends that are like, oh, I didn't know that. So he was just cool. And I was glad that documentary really like gave him the flowers he deserved. So
I agree. I don't think I would be hard pressed to think that in the Mount Rushmore of Batmans in time that he won't always be on that.
Right. And someone said in the documentary, they're like, when I read comics, like when I read Batman comics, Kevin Conroy's voice is who I hear when I'm like when I'm reading Batman's lines. And I'm the same. Like when I heard that, I was like, that is so true. Like when we see content animated or anything that's not live action and it doesn't sound like Kevin Conroy's, it throws me off for a bit. So anyways, go check out that documentary. It's like 20-25 minutes on YouTube. What else you got?
So the next thing I wanted to talk about was I started watching a new show on Netflix, and this is a show that actually came out in 2020. The first season did. It's called Blood of Zeus. So it's like an original storyline set in Greek mythology. But the second season just dropped a few weeks ago on Netflix. So there was like a 4-year hiatus, or 4-year hiatus in between season 1 and season 2. So it showed up on my list. I'm like, I'll watch this. Turns out it's from the same animation studio that did the Castlevania series. So it looks just like that. Like the animation's exactly the same.
Oh, nice.
And it's just as violent as Castlevania was. So
sweet.
Dismemberment, heads blowing up, people getting stabbed left and right. But it's based in Greek mythology, which I've always been a big fan of Greek mythology. So it was
same.
Totally cool. But there's 2 seasons out now on Netflix. Like I said, season 1 came out 4 years ago. Season 2 just dropped a few weeks ago. Blood of Zeus. If you liked Castlevania or you like that kind of anime style of animation, yes, it's so far it's pretty dang good, and it's a perfect 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Both seasons are.
Oh, shoot! Oh, that's cool. Okay,
there's not a ton of reviews, but all the reviews are positive, and I'm almost done with season 1, so I'm excited to start season 2 because it is pretty damn good.
God, well, I guess I know what I'm watching when the pod ends. I've seen it on Netflix, like suggested multiple times. I just haven't pulled the trigger. But I loved Castlevania primarily because of like the art style and just vibe felt great. I've never played any of the Castlevania games, so love the show. So definitely going to try that out. And if it's good, I've got 2 seasons to binge. So it's not bad. Cool. I think there's a couple more things that you've got to talk about. Well, the only other thing that I had was I saw today, just kind of a quick note for, and a reminder, because I forgot this movie was coming out. The trailer for Gladiator 2 was kind of mentioned that it's going to release at the Deadpool and Wolverine movie in the summer. So I know that's way out, but seeing that was like, oh shit!
It's not that far off. Less than a month now. It's like a month now at this point. So
I forgot all about that movie. Like Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington's in it. Like I'm like
Paul Mescal's the main character, right? I think he plays the son. So
I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with that. I hope it's cool. It looked like the picture they used was like a view looking out at the Colosseum, but like Rome with just like thousands of soldiers and stuff lined up. It looked really cool. So
it's one of those movies that like you never thought would get a sequel, and like you have to believe it's the right story. You know what I mean? Like it has to be the right story. Why would you do it? And then why would all these other people sign on to do it? Like why would Denzel sign on to do Gladiator 2 if it wasn't the perfect story? So yeah, I'm excited too. I think Cool. Great to hear that. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, speaking of trailers that are supposed to be attached to movies, so news came out at the middle of last week that the Nosferatu trailer, the new Robert Eggers vampire movie, the trailer was going to be in front of the Bikeriders this weekend in theaters. It wasn't going to go online. It was only going to be in front of the Bikeriders because it's Focus, or I think it's Focus Features, which was Bikeriders. So I went and saw Bikeriders on Saturday. Wasn't there. And then you went and saw Bikeriders.
I didn't see it either.
Wasn't there. But the trailer finally dropped online, I think today. And holy cow, does it look fantastic.
Freaking awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
It looks so good.
We didn't get a look at the monster, right? We didn't get a look at the vampire, which is Bill Skarsgård. So we know how he kind of gets lost into these characters. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. I'm glad they didn't reveal it in the trailer. I hope I hope we don't see it till the movie. Like I hope you have to see the movie to see it, because I feel like the marketing of this trailer was perfect.
Fucking
the way
awesome.
The moodiness. Obviously Robert Eggers is The Lighthouse, The Vitch, The Northman, like all movies that we've seen that are super stylized, very at some points difficult to watch. And and he's got a very unique style. That's one of those, like, if you like Robert Eggers, you really like Robert Eggers.
Yes. He is really good at hitting like uncomfortably scary moments or scenes. And I think the trailer kind of gives that vibe. I agree. I was actually going to say the same thing. I am really glad they didn't show the monster, because like it feels like it's just built up this even more like anticipation of like, oh my God, this monster is lurking somewhere, or it's coming, even as they say in the trailer, it's coming.
Yeah, you see like the back of him and he kind of turns his head, but you don't get to see the face, which is great.
Yes.
Which is great. So
it looks really cool. I'm freaking pumped for that. So
yeah, and you got a good look at like Willem Dafoe, Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp is like the main female in the movie, which I'm excited to see that. So yeah, and it's a huge cast. If you look at the cast list, like there's a ton of people in it that we didn't see in the trailer. So
yeah. And you think Willem Dafoe could be Nosferatu himself? Like, you think he would be someone they would?
That's funny. There was a movie that was made early 2000s, I think, called Shadow of the Vampire,
and he's already played it.
It was basically like the movie was about the making of the original Nosferatu movie, like in the 20s. Yeah. And Willem Dafoe played Max Schreck, who was the actor who played Nosferatu. So he actually was in that makeup.
Got to do that. Okay.
Yeah. And that movie's cool if you've never seen Shadow of the Vampire, because it's like the people that were making the movie thought Max Schreck was a vampire because of how weird he was on set and stuff. Nice. And that's what the movie's about, and about the filming of that. Anyway, it's a cool movie though, but Willem Dafoe actually was perfect as that like Nosferatu creepy ass vampire. That. So
I'm embarrassed because as you mentioned that, I'm like, oh shit, I think like I remember the concept.
Yes, your head is drawn straight to it because you're like, I swear he's done something like this
he's
before.
Connected to that character somehow.
He has sort of, but yeah, very interesting there. So, yeah, so good stuff. Lots this week. Lots of interesting trailers. Lots of interesting movie news. But that takes us into our big premiere movie of the week, the 2023 American crime drama, The Bikeriders, which was something that we both really wanted to see when the trailers first came out, like last summer for a late fall release. But the Bikeriders, like I said, it was a 2023 release because it actually premiered at the Telluride Film Festival back in August of 2023. That was where it had its premiere. It was originally slated for a December 1st of 2023 release, right in awards season, because they thought this would be a good awards contender. But because of the writer's strike and the lack of marketing, it was obviously delayed. Yeah. After the announcement that it was delayed, New Regency Pictures, which had funded the making of this movie, sold the rights to it to Focus Features. They shopped it because they didn't think they could handle the marketing for it. And Focus Features actually was like, we'll pick it up because we did Robert Eggers movies and we feel like The Northman, we can market to that similar audience. They thought that this would market that way. So it's directed and written by Jeff Nichols, based on the book of the same name by Danny Lyon. The cast includes Jodie Comer as Kathy, Austin Butler as Benny, Tom Hardy as Johnny, Michael Shannon as Zipko, Norman Reedus as Funny Sonny, Boyd Holbrook as Cal, Damon Harriman as Brucey, and then Mike Feist actually in the movie plays Danny Lyon, the author of the book, because it's told kind of through interviews he has mainly with the group, but Kathy mainly she is actually listed as top billing on the marketing. Jodie Comer is. Yeah.
That makes sense.
The original marketing for this movie was actually supposed to be based around her character, but when it was sold, the marketing shifted to be more about Tom Hardy and Austin Butler, which probably was not a poor decision. When you're making a movie about a motorcycle gang, you should probably market it as the main guys in the gang and not the wife of one of the guys in the gang, even though she's the one telling the story. So I get it, but I think the marketing shift was probably a wise decision. Heck of a cast, like holy cow. Like there are three big hitters at the top. Jodie Comer's obviously been big lately. Austin Butler and Tom Hardy are both very hot all the time. literally and figuratively. And then Michael Shannon, funny actually, is Zipco. He doesn't have a huge role in the movie, and I love some Michael Shannon, and I know you do too. We all like Emperor Zod. He's done every single Jeff Nichols movie Jeff Nichols has ever made. Like they are, like
did not know that.
Peas and carrots. Yeah, they're peas and carrots. If you've never seen another Jeff Nichols movie, he did Mud with Matthew McConaughey. I don't know if you ever saw that. They're all pretty low budget, kind of indie films. And then he did Take Shelter, and Michael Shannon was the main character in that. And Take Shelter is one of my like favorite movies that nobody's ever heard of. If have you ever heard of Take Shelter? So basically Michael Shannon's like this family man, and he starts having visions of like this catastrophic world ending thing is coming. And he starts like doomsday prepping and stuff. And everybody thinks he's going nuts. Mm-hmm. And like the whole movie, you're wondering, is something actually going to happen, or is he freaking nuts? And it's about like how his community alienates him because of this. They tell his family to leave him. Like his wife is scared because she thinks he's going crazy. It's a tremendous movie. It does give you an ending. Because it's one of those movies that like you wonder, is it going to end ambiguously? Like, are you ever going to find out if he really was nuts or not? It does give you an ending, which was what really made me excited, because you were at the very end. It just cuts off, but you're like, oh my God, get out of here. Sorry about that. But it's one of those movies that like the ending happens and you're like, holy shit, that's exactly how I wanted it to end. Anyway.
Outstanding.
I'm interested. Jeff Nichols is a really good storyteller. Anyway, back to this. I was super pumped to see this movie. And I didn't know, like it wasn't, I'm not going to say it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I think the pace was different than what I thought it was going to be. So I wasn't as happy with the end result as I had hoped I would be. Because I thought this was a slam dunk. I'm going to love this movie. Because I love Jeff Nichols movies. And I like Tom Hardy and Austin Butler and Jodie Comer. And I think this looks cool as hell.
Yeah.
I didn't love it.
You know, my brother texted me we did not see the movie together, by the way. Just schedules didn't line up. So I went and saw it like by myself at like, it was like a 10:50 showing. So I was the only person in the theater.
Excellent.
And my brother texted me and was like, I saw Bikeriders. I went by myself, like you guys said, saw Bikeriders. And he said something like, didn't say he didn't like it, but he was like, I was underwhelmed or something. Which I then texted him back, like, I'm literally watching it right now, so I will give you an update after. Opposite. Like, not necessarily that I knew what I was getting into with it, but like, it checked all the boxes that I thought that it was going to, and I really, really enjoyed it. Maybe the movie Lawless like has pre-prepped me for Tom Hardy movies that like I think are going to go one way, or he's going to do this and it goes a totally different way. It's like Lawless, you think he's going to be this big freaking gun-toting badass, and he's more of just like a figure in the background who's a little bit more of a big brother. Anyways, not to jump to a different movie. So like I knew with Austin Butler being like the top, well, not the top bill, but being in this movie, that it would probably be a little bit more focused on Austin Butler than maybe Tom Hardy being the man.
I think the trailer kind of gave you that indication too, that Austin Butler's character was more the focus of the movie, but Tom Hardy was right there with him. You know, you kind of almost got this like mentor mentee father son kind of vibe
for sure,
which was kind of how it played out. So you get that.
I liked it. I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's a super cool movie. It is. I've always been like nerdy about like biker gang and like biker culture and stuff, of like not necessarily like just because of Sons of Anarchy, which I did love Sons of Anarchy. But like there's been a ton of documentaries and stuff on like the Hells Angels and Mongols and stuff like that, which are just they fascinate me. So it was cool that like anytime they come out with a movie that has anything to do with some type of biker gang or something, motorcycle club, I should say.
Right.
I'm into it, so I liked it.
Yeah.
Not to give away too many spoilers, so I'll let you kind
we
of
get to that. I'm like I said, I didn't dislike this movie, but I kind of had the same reaction your brother did. I was underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Theater, no. Wait till it comes out on streaming and rent it. That's my recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I liked. I mean, I like this movie, so I would say theater. I enjoyed this way more in theater, primarily because like there's motorcycles, it's loud, it's like it's got kind of that old school what's the word I'm looking for? Like greaser kind of vibe, I would say.
Well, yeah, time period. Yeah, I get it.
But yeah,
No,
theater, but I think it's worth seeing. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
Throw that out there.
Fair enough, but spoiler warning. Boogie on out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I did forget to say this, but the club in the movie was the Vandals, right? They get the Vandals, but it's actually based on the Outlaws MC in the Midwest. It's time frames, right? They just changed the name of the people and they changed the name of the motorcycle club, but basically everything that happens in this movie is kind of the way it went down.
Yes, the Outlaws. Yeah, exactly.
for the Outlaws. So, listen, like the plot's not super. It's basically told over the course of like 15 years, right? This movie, it starts. This guy's basically spent a lot of time with the motorcycle club, chronicles, pictures. It was a picture book. I mean, that was kind of the way he did it. He documented it through photos, and you get to see the photos at the end during the credits, which that was pretty cool. But it's mostly through interviews with Kathy, and some of that's in the movie where he's actually literally interviewing people. Like the actor, right, portraying Danny Lyon. It takes place over like I said, the course of like 15 years, and then there's follow up at the end with Kathy, right? I think Tom Hardy was phenomenal in this movie as Johnny, like the founder and leader of the Vandals. I thought he was terrific. His performance, like it usually is. Like I think I think Tom Hardy's underrated as an actor and his talent and the way he acts. Like if you've ever seen Peaky Blinders, like holy shit, he's amazing. Like
fucking awesome in it.
The Revenant, like movies like that, crazy. Austin Butler, I don't think did anything in this movie, and it annoyed the shit out of me. Like he does nothing. I get it. He's the young, I don't care about anything. Like I'm the tough guy kind of shit.
Yes,
but he doesn't do anything in this movie, and I didn't like that. And I was kind of like, what a waste. You know, you could have had somebody that we've never seen in a movie before play this role, and that would have been fine. You know what I mean? Like it was. Yes, he didn't do nothing.
Yes, he is. Austin Butler has like just become. I don't know if it's just because of Dune 2, or I liked him in Elvis, but like Dune 2 solidified him as like he's the new hotness.
100%, and I get that, and I know this was probably made. I don't know if it was made prior to that. It might have been. And I think Austin Butler's performance in Dune 2 is going to earn him some award recognition at the end of the year.
Oh, for sure.
But this, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's almost like his character was, obviously, he's like the strong, silent type, the wild one that no one can tame.
How many lines did he have in this movie?
Yeah, he doesn't talk 15? At all.
I don't know.
But his character, to me, was kind of like, because I was watching some interviews of like the director and the writer and people, and just it was like a short clip talking about just Austin Butler. Of people are like, Austin Butler has like an aura to him. When he walks in a room, like the temperature changes. Like is how they were talking about him, which I'm like, yeah, he's that kind of actor in my head now. Like anytime he's in something, I'm like, he's a fucking badass. And it's almost like his character was supposed to kind of be that too. Like, so he doesn't talk at all in it. He does things that are like, I like that the bike, basically everybody looks at him as like, he is who we all want to be. Like a carefree, just is in it to be a bike rider. like doesn't have any aspirations for a family or a wife or to be the leader. He just wants to
Doesn't
ride
want
his
to
bike and
work.
be,
Yeah, he just wants to be in the
yeah,
club. He doesn't want to pay his dues.
yes.
He just wants to be in the club. I get it.
So I like the concept or the time frame of this movie itself is cool because it's like that whole setting of this is essentially kind of like the ending or the dying of the original motorcycle clubs that were
Right.
started by these, you know, war veterans that just wanted to have something for them to do. They've got families. They're not really in it to be like thugs or like burglars or to do criminal activity. They're in it to ride their motorcycles and hang with their buds.
Yeah, in the movie, it started out as a racing club. They would just go to like fields and they would race their bikes, and then it was like, oh, why don't we just start a riding club? We'll ride around the Midwest and stuff.
Yeah,
Evolved
and
from one thing into another, and that's what it was. Like
yes,
they just wanted to hang out and drink beers and do shit like that.
yeah. So I thought, like, just obviously it's following like an actual, loosely following kind of an actual book, and then clearly the start of that motorcycle club. But like, it was cool because it felt, because we were getting a little bit longer term of the story through the wife of Austin Butler's character, which also I thought was a cool concept of she is essentially in the seat of the audience member. Like she's an outsider, but she's like telling us all about like this crazy fucking group, these crazy guys, this is what they did. And
those crazy guys, like her, oh god,
yeah, the way
it did
her
kind of
accent
annoy.
was wild.
It was
Her
pretty
accent
thick.
was wild.
Pretty thick.
That's actually pretty spot
Oh.
on. It's I mean, we've talked about like I watched Goodfellas and have been on like a super like mafia like kind of kick for the number of months recently, and motorcycle clubs are essentially that. So this felt kind of like a Goodfellas for motorcycle clubs, and so you could tell as the movie's going on, it goes from like being just a motorcycle club to slowly evolving into something larger. And now they're letting up new chapters open up that they
different
didn't really
towns,
think was
right?
something to do.
Started in Chicago, then all of a sudden you got Columbus, Gary, Indiana, Milwaukee, all these different cities in the Midwest are starting to be chapters of the Vandals, right? And that's how the story kind of evolves. And Johnny's the leader, and Johnny's, you know, the tough, quiet, like no nonsense boss. And they talked about in the movie, like he's one of the only guys that had like a real job. Like he was an over the road trucker, and he had a wife and kids. And, and the guy who played Brucey, Damon Harriman, same thing. He was like an electrician, and they talked about, you know, he was the same kind of thing. He was kind of like Tom Hardy's right hand man, Johnny's right hand man in the movie, and he was a real, you know, and then there were the guys that like were just friggin' dirtballs and just like probably couldn't hold down a job, but they could ride a motorcycle. And it was different. I'm not like, again, I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm just saying I was underwhelmed by it.
For sure.
It was slow. And again, it's not that it wasn't interesting. It was just like, I felt like there was a lot that could have been taken out that wasn't super interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm just poo-pooing on it because I wanted it to be something different. But yeah, I mean, it basically tells the story over like 15 years, I think 62 to like mid 70s kind of deal. You know, there's time basically throughout the course of Johnny's getting older. Tom Hardy's character is getting older, and he does, you know, he's not going to run the club forever. And he has Benny, Austin Butler's character, in mind to run the club when he's done. And that's kind of the main driving force of the movie, is as things evolve and it gets bigger and like it's turning into something that it's not supposed to be, and it makes Benny not want it anymore, you know? And that's that right there is the plot of the movie.
100%. Like that's
the entire plot.
I like Tom Hardy, and I
loved him.
Thought he was freaking awesome in this movie.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like it was like you said, all of his background of like his family and have like he's got a job and he's running this club, but it's slowly evolving into something that is not what he created, and he doesn't want to be a part of it, or he wants to be a part of it. He knows that it gets to a point where it's too far gone, that this is what it's become, a monster that he's got to deal with the way he's going to deal with it. But I actually really liked it. I didn't. Austin Butler's character doesn't talk a lot in it, but I thought his character was cool. He was like the fucking cool guy.
Yes, I agree. Like totally. I didn't dislike him. I just felt like he didn't do anything and there wasn't any dialogue. But it's not that Austin Butler had a bad performance. He did great with what he was given. I just felt like Benny needed a little bit more substance. Like they gave too much to Kathy and not enough to Benny, because Kathy's telling the story, but Benny's more the part of the story than Kathy is, in my opinion. I felt like that part was kind of an odd choice. I think
especially when the rest of the movie, there's so much character development because you're seeing these people from over years, and you can see them evolve from how they look, how they dress, how they do their hair, and motivations change. But Benny, there's really none of that with him. Sorry, I mean,
you're right. He's like the exact same person the entire movie. And you got other bike riders that like come and join and stuff. Like, so Michael Shannon's not in the movie a ton as Zipco, but he's got a couple key scenes, and he's got a couple little like monologues where he's just talking about how he hates, like, what are they, Pinkos, the college kids, and like, wanted to join in the army and they wouldn't take him, and like he's just got a couple scenes like that. I think Norman Reedus is Funny Sonny's only in like 2 or 3 scenes, but they're really impactful. You know, like you find out he was actually from a California branch, and he had come to basically like put down Cal's character, who's Boyd Holbrook. And Boyd Holbrook's a pretty good actor. And he's not in the movie a ton either. So that was pretty wild. But, you know, Sonny ends up riding with him for a while because he likes him and he, you know, enjoys it. And he kind of becomes like a de facto member, even though he's still with his club in California. It all, there's an early scene on, and it does a lot of foreshadowing where Tom Hardy had basically, as the leader, had said, like, if anybody wants to challenge me for leadership, they can, and we'll fight it out. And, you know, whoever wins is going to be the leader. And that's the first guy who wants to start, like, he's got buddies up in Milwaukee that want to start their own chapter of the Vandals. And Tom Hardy's like, no, I don't want to expand it. He's like, well, I'll challenge you then. And Tom Hardy's like, fists or knives. And then him and this big guy get into a just knockdown, drag out, dirty boxing, biting, kicking, ball punching fight at one of these picnics they have, and Tom Hardy ends up winning. But it foreshadows to what happens towards the end of the movie, right? Where you got all these young guys that are joining up, and they're into drugs, and they're in the gangs, and they're doing crimes and stuff, right? They're stealing, like kind of what you think of when you think of motorcycle gang, right?
Yes, like the modern version of
that's what it evolves into. So there's a scene, and again, this part I think is good because it builds up the story, right? And you know when you see the scene, it means something. But you see this group of like young kids working on a car when the Vandals drive through town, and these kids all kind of stand up in awe, right? So then, like later on in the movie, here's this group of kids. They all got motorcycles, and they're all tough guys now, and they got their own little riding club, right? And they got their own jackets, and they go to meet Tom Hardy to ask to join. Tom Hardy says, no, you guys are too young. We're going to take a bunch of kids. And the guy's like, come on, we made our bikes. We build them ourselves. Come look at our bikes. Come look at our bikes. So Tom Hardy goes out and looks at their bikes. And this was like right after Brucey had unfortunately passed away in just a freak accident.
Yeah. Like the worst timing ever of these kids asking to join.
Well, yeah, because Tom Hardy's very upset. Brucey's right-hand man has died in a freak like motorcycle accident, like a car pulled out in front of him. And they go to the funeral that Brucey's family doesn't want him there, and like the mom spits in his face, you know. So yeah, Tom Hardy's not handling that well. But he goes outside with these kids and looks at their bikes, and he's like, okay, you can join, but just you got to ditch your friends. And the kid's like, okay. And he's like, no, you're not joining. You have no loyalty. Like you just abandon your friends. Like don't ever come back. Don't ever ask me again. I never want to see your face around here again. And the kid ends up like cutting him with a knife, right? Like, because that's the way these young kids are. And that's the way this movie portrays it. This new generation of these club members are totally different. And they're in it for the, like, we're tough guys and we're going to steal and we're going to kill and we're going to do all this shit, right? So foreshadow to the end, here's this kid and his buddies. They're members. They got into the Milwaukee chapter, right? So he comes to Chicago and confronts Tom Hardy, and he says, I'm going to challenge you for leadership. And Tom Hardy says, okay, fists or knives? And the kid says knives. So Tom Hardy goes to fight the kid, the next night in the parking lot, and the little shit just shoots him right in the heart.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? So now this kid's the leader of the gang, because what is anybody going to do about it?
Yeah.
Right.
And at this point, like the group has changed and evolved at this point, where one of the guys, obviously Brucey, dies, so he's the right hand man to Tom Hardy, the guy who he co-created this group with, is now gone.
Yeah.
Then one of the guys ends up, like, one of the original guys who was just part of the group because he liked to ride motorcycles. Now that this has grown into like multiple chapters and hundreds of people in the club, he just mentions at a party that he wants to get out because he wants to become a motorcycle cop. Yeah, Cockroach, who just looks like the most like straight out of the movie Grease, or with these like mutton chops,
like the dumb one from Grease is what he looks like. Yeah.
So yeah, like one of the dumb freaking minion friends. But he's like, he just mentions at a party that he to some of these other members that are from a different chapter, that he's drunk as hell, that he wants to become a motorcycle cop, and he's going to turn in his colors, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And when he goes to take a pee, they beat the shit out of him, break his ribs, break his arm, and almost kill him, essentially, because in motorcycle culture, MC culture, like, you don't give up your colors. Like, once you're in, you're in. You don't get out. And so, for the reason why that's like important or impactful is because he's part of the original group that created this motorcycle club. So like, he should be respected as one of the OG creators, but also like, he's not in it because he doesn't want to be this freaking criminal. He just wants to be in a motorcycle club with his friends. So he's ready to get out, and they beat him up. So anyways, so there's a part of the movie where you don't know what's going to happen, but we've all seen like Goodfellas. We've all seen mafia movies. We know that like at any moment your friend could walk you in a room, as they say in the mafia world. Like, you walk in a room, you don't walk out, and it's usually your friend who does you in. And they kind of allude that that's what's happening, because Cockroach basically, after he got beat up, he goes to Tom Hardy, Johnny. He's like, I want to get out. I'm done. I want to be a motorcycle cop. And Tom Hardy's character tells him like totally, you're fine. I'll take care of it. And then like kind of secretly goes to Benny, Austin Butler, and is like, do you still have your pistol? Grab your pistol and come meet me tonight. We got to take care of Cockroach.
Yeah.
And so you think like, oh shit, they've now become like, Tom Hardy and the group has now become the criminal mafia that
they're a full-fledged gang now. They're going to kill members that are trying to leave, all that. Yeah.
Yep. But then obviously we're in the spoiler world, so we can talk about it. But then when they walk in, it seems like they're going to, and Benny doesn't know. So Austin Butler's character, he's just following Johnny, because they already established earlier in the movie that Johnny's going to do anything to fight for his buddy, or Benny's going to do anything to fight for his buddy Johnny, because like, they literally, it looks like Tom Hardy's about to fight a guy at a party. He's really talking a guy down and diffusing a situation. But Austin Butler's character sees it, doesn't know what they're talking about or care, and just fucking sprints in and fucking punches the dude and starts this brawl. And then they have a little line where he's like, why'd you do that? And he's like, what were you thinking, is what he says. And Austin Butler's character's like, oh, you were getting into it with someone. I didn't need to think. I just needed to fight or kind of take care of you. So they established like, Austin Butler's going to do anything for Johnny, Tom Hardy, because that's his buddy and that's his like father, older brother, best friend. Anyways, they go in. They actually just plug Cockroach in the leg, so it gives him basically an out that he's been like shot, so he can really get out of the club, and use that as his excuse to get out. So shows Tom Hardy's character's taking care of his people. He doesn't really want to do the bad stuff. But anyways, I thought that was kind of cool. That felt very Goodfellas, felt very mafia movie. And anyways, I could go on and talk about the entire movie, but Tom Hardy crushed it. Austin Butler could have talked more, but he still carries a power.
That's how I
to
was
him.
too. I didn't. man, like I think Jodie Comer's a good actress. The accent killed me.
It was
So
hard.
thick.
It
Like
was hard.
tone it down. It was even worse than like watching Fargo. Like she was. Oh yeah,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
bad. But yeah. No, anyway, like it wasn't bad. It was a good movie. It's just like I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. It was
Yeah.
okay. It was
Yeah, I
okay.
can see that.
Anyway,
I
7.
think
I'll give it
you
a
have to
7.
be okay. 7. That's higher than I thought you were going to give
I
it.
was leaning towards 6.5. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like,
Yeah, just go with your gut.
yeah,
Say what. Don't feel like you have to
but I
say
know
7
it was
because
a
I
good
liked it.
movie. All right, I'm gonna say no. I'm not. I don't do that. I just like I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, it was a good movie. I did like the performances. I just wasn't for me. So I don't want to
Yeah.
poo poo on the movie because it wasn't something that I was really into, and I thought it was gonna be. I'll go 7. I think that's safe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think for like you just kind of alluded to, it's very not niche, but like there's a specific audience that's really going to like this or think that this is like super cool. And then there's a lot of people that, not that you don't get it, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that just don't get it or understand kind of what they're
right.
going for. It just, it gave a Bronx Tale kind of vibes to me, like some of the stuff of just like the long-term storytelling, the seeing these characters do what they do and become what they become, I thought was a lot of fun.
And I'll say, like, Jeff Nichols movies, like, it very much did feel like Jeff Nichols movies, but like usually when he's telling a story that isn't, and like they're not super action packed or anything like that, they are slower and they're toned down and they're make you think, but and that's what this was. But at the same time, like I felt like they were more like his other movies have been more interesting than this one was. I didn't feel like it was as interesting. And maybe it was just the concept because it was so straightforward and it was an adaptation and you know there wasn't a lot to it that you didn't know was coming. Like you knew like all the foreshadowing stuff. You pretty much knew Tom Hardy was going to get killed. Like you knew that like all this was going to happen. Like you felt it, right? And obviously the movie ends with Austin Butler, Jodie Comer moved to Florida, that he becomes, you know, he quits riding and he gets a real job and happily ever after. It just didn't feel. I'm gonna go back to the 6.5. I gotta go with the 6.5.
Yeah,
I
keep
feel
your
like
6.5. That where you at?
Yeah.
I think like when you originally saw the trailer, were like Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, motorcycle club.
Gang. Yeah.
Like they're gonna be like these criminals blowing shit up. There's gonna be a ton of action. It's gonna be Sons of Anarchy. And it wasn't that. It was like way more slowed down.
What's the name of the movie? The Bike Riders, and that's what it is. It's a bunch of people riding bikes. That's what that's what the movie is.
It's way more toned down. It's not Sons of Anarchy, and if you're expecting it to be a Sons of Anarchy, you're not going to get that. But
right.
We didn't really mention, but the bad guy or the kid who ends up growing up to be the basically the one that kills Tom Hardy and initially starts the inevitable motorcycle club world that we know now, where they're all just these crazy criminals. I liked that actor. I thought he did great of being
I don't know
like
who
this.
he was. He's not listed in much. I mean, he's only in like 3 scenes, but
yes, but he was very powerful as like that guy's evil. Like he's driven and motivated.
Very motivated, and he's going to do whatever it takes to do what he wants.
Anyways, I'll give it. I thought it was an 8.5. I really liked it. Like I said, I like both actors enough that there's nothing from this movie that I walked out and was like, ooh, I didn't like that. I immediately started YouTube and review videos and the background. The concept that the book that it was originally written or made from.
Yeah.
It's just cool. Like it's a guy who's in college doing a book. So he just decided to go follow this motorcycle club and document it and interview people. And then he's following up with the girl throughout the years to see how things have gone. And like that concept was cool, I thought. And they incorporated a lot of stuff in the movie, like scenery or moments that were like some of the main popular pictures from that picture book that actually is what came out. Like Austin Butler's like pool table, like just where he's like all brooding and looking
Yep.
down. Like there's a picture of one of the guys from the book that's there. So,
right.
anyways,
Last thing I just want to add,
like
we
it.
tried to do fun fact. I couldn't find a ton. But one thing that I did think was kind of interesting was most of the main actors did learn that if they didn't know how to ride a motorcycle, they learned so they could film the scenes. But Michael Shannon absolutely did not.
Of course,
and that's why, like in the movie, most of his scenes, he's like leaning on his motorcycle talking. so I thought that was kind of interesting. The only thing I could find about like people wrecking was Austin Butler did wreck his bike one time during a night shoot when he hit some wet leaves, but
my God,
nothing too crazy. But I thought it was funny that Michael Shannon was like, "No, I'm not gonna do it."
That's not shocking at all.
No,
but also like maybe that's one of the things that I was kind of surprised about. There wasn't as much like badass bike riding scenes as you think.
No badass bike riding scenes.
There's one where Austin Butler's running from the cops and then he runs out of gas and gets picked up. Like, but other than that, I think that's also where it was kind of like, wait, where's all the badass bike riding? Biker
slow bike riding like through towns and shit. That's what it is. Anyway, Bike Riders. Kyle wants you to go see it.
Go do it.
You can wait anyway. So, nice. That takes us into my favorite segment. There can be only 5.
Only 5.
So, got to continue on like we did the last couple weeks. We're going to stick with the "How Rotten Is Your Tomato" segment. But first, we're going to lead off with the top 5 Tom Hardy movies. So, do you want to lead off on that since I'm doing Rotten Tomatoes this week?
Yeah, let's do that. I freaking love Tom Hardy, as you know, as we have been talking this entire movie. I got old Tom Hardy right here on my wall, right next to his action figure version of him. He's just great. Then when I was looking at his list of movies, I was kind of like, shit. Like Tom Hardy is so like I love him and his movies and like everything he's in, but his movie list in general is not really that like, or at least him as the lead or main top actor. It's kind of hard to. There's not a lot in that scope.
There's not a lot of mainstream necessarily.
Yes, there is a lot of like lower budget non AAA movies that he has done, which. I'll talk about a couple of them here in a second, actually. But when you were talking about Peaky Blinders earlier, it just like it struck me like a bolt of lightning of like, oh, duh. Tom Hardy's actually in a lot of like shows or streaming shows, and he's really good in a lot of those. So I think I just always kind of include him with a lot of those. Yes, I love Taboo.
I did too, and I don't think I think you're the only other person I've ever met that's also watched it.
Yes, it came out, and I was like, "This is the build up for Taboo looked really cool, and then it was really hard to watch, like to follow what the fuck was going on."
Yeah, because then weird.
Then I turned the subtitles on and watched it so I could actually like read and understand what was going on, and liked it and enjoyed it much more. I thought they were going to do another extra seasons, but they didn't because nobody watched it. So
nobody watched it.
But Taboo is great. I freaking love Taboo. I love obviously him in Peaky Blinders. He's got a super cool gypsy character that he plays. Anyways, we're talking movies. At least
Jewish, isn't he?
I don't know.
Peaky Blinders, isn't he like the main of the Jewish gang?
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. Yes, you're right. The gypsies are that's the Peaky Blinders. They're part of the gypsy
You just
group.
offended everyone.
Yeah. Oh my God. Come on. He's great in it. I think in Peaky Blinders, he does a good job because there's some parts where you're like, okay, he's a bad guy. And then there's other parts you're like, okay, he's a good guy.
He just had one person he was taking care of, and that was himself. Whether it fucked you over or it benefited, whatever benefited him was whose side he was on.
Yes. The opening scene where you meet him is cool. Like Tommy Shelby's like got a grenade hooked up. So like if I don't leave this building, you're all dying. And then later on when he's like about to die or they have like a standoff, there's really cool epic thing. Anyways, movies for Tom Hardy, top 5. I have 2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
Originally, I had 2, but I'm gonna add 3 because there's a movie I forgot to put on my list. But I don't want it on my list, but I do want to mention it. Bronson as an honorable mention. I don't know if you've ever seen Bronson. I watched it for God knows what reason, rented it from like Blockbuster when I was in like high school. I had no idea what the fuck it was supposed to be about. I didn't know who Tom Hardy was. And I ended up loving the movie.
I got it through
weird ass movies.
I remember renting. I got Bronson through Netflix when they used to send DVDs to your house.
Oh my God.
That's where I watched Bronson.
I had seen the movie on the shelf hundreds of times and was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that movie because I was like, I don't know what it is. But one day, like just the wild hair on the butt was like, all right, I'm going to do this Bronson movie. And he's great as Bronson. He totally makes that character super interesting. Kind of a weird scene where he covers himself in human stuff that's weird. But the movie itself, he's great. Legend, which is another one where he plays 2 characters. He plays twin brothers. These basically badass, famous gangsters in England, London. That was just, I freaking loved the movie. Not enough to put in my top 5, but I did love Legend. And then I had The Revenant, not in my top 5, but I had it on a mention.
Surprising.
Because he's the bad guy in it. I hate him in the movie because he's supposed to be hated. That's his job. You're supposed to not like him.
Kills his son.
Yeah, leaves
him for dead. After
I did this list on movies I like and want to watch, and though he is awesome in that movie, I don't want to watch it because it's too uncomfortable, and he's too good of a bad guy. I hate him. So I have it as honorable mention. My number 5, I had the Bike Riders. I'm not going to dive into why or too much because we just talked about how much I loved him in the movie. I really liked his performance. He crushed this character, and I will watch this movie again at some point when it streams. Like, I'm excited to see it again because he was great. And then number 4, I had a movie that when it came out, it was different than what I had expected, but I still loved it. Lawless, Tom Hardy and Shia LaBeouf, like 2 actors that I just freaking love and was excited to get this like prohibition speakeasy gangster movie. And it was kind of like Bike Riders, a lot slower than you had expected, not as much action as you were wanting to be. Yeah, a lot of family drama. Tom Hardy's character is just like this. He has like an aura to him as like this legend, like, and just like the old wise brother leader that we all look to. And he was just cool in it. There's a moment where like he gets kind of jumped by these dudes in a bar and gets his throat cut, and you think he's gonna die, and he's like trying to hold his throat together, and he freaking survives. Like, he's just this legendary bear of a man in the movie. His like the way he portrayed the character, the way he does his voices for movies is cool. And then at the end of the movie, spoilers if you haven't seen it, this dude who's like unkillable, he's been running freaking prohibition, illegal booze running for years, runs kind of a small little criminal empire, hasn't been killed, and then he freaking falls into the ice water at the end of the movie after they all have a family, they've settled down, and he like dies from pneumonia. So at the end of the movie, so it's just like, oh, it's kind of a funny kind of weird way for such a badass character to go out. But Lawless, I love it. Great movie. Number 3, which I went back and forth with 2 and 3 with this, but this is where I ended up on it. I've got 16 scribbles here because I've moved him around. But I had Warrior. He doesn't talk a lot in the movie Warrior, but we've talked about it on this pod. Like, I love the movie Warrior. It's an MMA movie. And is it Tyrion? Not Tyrion Edgerton. What's the name of the other guy that's in it with him? Joel Edgerton. They're dynamic as brothers, and like Tom Hardy's this jacked, like angry at the world because he's clearly broken from childhood life trauma. Like it's fucking super powerful. The ending makes me tear up every time. He's like fighting his own brother because he feels like the world turned their back on him. And
right.
he just does such a great job. He doesn't talk a lot in it, but he's a fucking badass in the movie.
Yeah.
And he's a monster, which is why I think he ended up becoming a specific villain in a specific superhero movie. And then number 2, I had Mad Max. We've talked about Mad Max, Thunder Road or Fury Road that we freaking love so much. We've talked about it multiple episodes.
Thunderdome, Fury Road.
Yes, I got all twisted up there. Giggity. He's awesome in the movie. I couldn't have it as number 1 because he doesn't talk in the movie, but it is one of his most memorable characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to get another one of those movies. I hope they do another. They probably won't, but I need to get Mad Max.
Furiosa is already streaming as of today. So.
Oh, is it? Oh my god! I didn't
today.
see that.
Yeah, it came out today.
Oh. And then my number 1 Tom Hardy movie, which I think some people would be like, "Well, of course you would pick that, you Batman nerd." But The Dark Knight Rises, Tom Hardy playing Bane. There's a lot of people that have issues with it.
Right.
I thought he was freaking amazing. His like choice of like, no, they need to leave someone to the wreckage, brother. Like the way his voice is, it's very unique and different, and I thought was super badass. Like his Bane is fucking cool. Like he's jacked, obviously. From interviews, he mentioned specifically they were going for like a circus strongman kind of look, which he achieves. But like his voice and his lines and the things he says, like, do you feel in charge? Like, it's just he's fucking cool. I don't care what people say.
Right.
I don't care that people think he was a weird character or that his voice was goofy. I thought the character was really cool and is one of my favorite on-screen Batman villains. So Dark Knight Rises, Bane, number 1 Tom Hardy movie.
I like it. Very good.
Give it to me.
Similar lists, obviously, because we said there's not a ton of high quality content to pick from. I did have one honorable mention. It was actually a movie you didn't mention, but I honorable mentioned kind of the movie that really got him to mainstream audiences in the U.S. was Inception. And I think he's great in Inception because a lot of people didn't know who Tom Hardy was at that point. And he holds his own with Cillian Murphy and Leo and Elliot Page and like Ken Watanabe. Like these are big time heavy hitters. And he's right there and does a great job. So I just wanted to do a quick honorable mention for Inception.
He feels different in Inception than like any other movie he's been in. Like the way he acts.
Yeah.
It's just like he's a totally different dude. So kind of like the Star Trek movie that he was in, and Nemesis that nobody
and he's
really
super
remembers or knows that.
It's totally weird. Yeah, I always think about that, and then I think of the Guy Ritchie movie Rock and Rolla. Like he's in that, but and it's just nobody ever thinks of that as like something that Tom Hardy was in. And you go back and you're watching, and you're like, is that Tom Hardy?
Yes, same in Black Hawk Down. He was in Black Hawk Down too.
Well, I mean, think about and it's kind of I haven't really get into my list yet, but like think about some of these movies and like have you ever seen Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? The like Gary Oldman. So he's in that and he's terrific, but he's not a big character. Or if you think about like Dunkirk, like he's in that and he's great, but he's not a main character. And he's got so many of these movies where he's just in it. And, he's great in it, but it's just, you don't think of it as like, oh, shit, I forgot Tom Hardy was in this movie, right? Like, that's kind of how they work.
I thought that when I saw Star Wars pop up on the list, I was like, oh, shit, I forgot he was a stormtrooper for one scene for J.J. Abrams. So.
It's just one of those things you're like, oh, I forgot. All right, so my top 5 Tom Hardy movies. So at number 5, I had The Revenant. I'm not a huge Revenant fan. I watched the movie once. I'm good. Like it's great. Like Leo's had better movies, but whatever. But yeah, Tom Hardy's a dastardly villain. Like he is a heck of a bad guy. And you really do not like him, and justifiably so. But I think that's part of being a good bad guy too. You know.
Yeah,
It's kind of how it goes. But Revenant at number 5. At number 4, I had Mad Max Fury Road. All kind of the same reason you said, like, it could be higher on the list. But again, it's a movie that's called Mad Max, but like he's not the main character. He feels like he's part of the story. He's badass in it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't miss Mel Gibson watching Tom Hardy in that role. I thought he did a great job. It's the way the movie was written. He's not the main character. So, for all the reasons you said. That was number 4. So at number 3, I had Bronson.
Nice.
Bronson at number 3. Yeah, I've seen that movie. It's freaking wild. Like, if there's a if I had to pick one movie and it was like Tom Hardy goes crazy in a performance and is totally engrossed in it, it's that movie. Yes. Because he's nuts. And it's based on a real life person, like a criminal. And he's crazy. He's crazy in that friggin' movie. So Bronson. Yes. And then at number 2, I had The Dark Knight Rises. I had that at number 2. Again, same thing you said. Like, I liked him as Bane. Boy, gosh, you talk about having to make a character your own, making some bold choices with it, right? Like we talk about the voice and everything. And you're following up one of the greatest on-screen comic book villains of all time. Like, that was just in the movie before you. That's tough. And he did a pretty badass job. But he also, compared to the way Bane was portrayed in the movie you were talking about earlier, this episode, Batman and Robin, he did it they did it the right way, at least. Like, I mean, have we gotten like Bane on screen? No, I guess not, because, like, you know, he wasn't using venom and everything in The Dark Knight Rises, but he does do a great job, and he's obviously got the intelligence and the strength and the fighting prowess and all of that stuff that he should as that character. And then number 1, I had Warrior. I think that's Tom Hardy's best movie. He's awesome in that movie. That movie freaking rocks.
God, it's so freaking good.
He's the best part of it. You said he doesn't talk much. I agree, but he is troubled the entire movie, and you know he's troubled by his actions and his facial expressions, the way he acts. Like, and he has all these emotional scenes, and like he's kind of a bastard in it too, but like, you know why he's a bastard. Like, of all these things that happened, like his mom and his brother left him with the drunk, and he was, you know, he didn't have a choice and all that. And it was, it's a heartbreaking movie, but it's amazing. And highly recommend it if you've never seen it. So I had Warrior number 1. I think that's Tom Hardy's best movie. So
damn it. When I originally wrote this down, I had Dark Knight as number 1 and I had Warrior as number 2. And then I was like, people are going to be like, Mad Max has got to be higher because it's more of a AAA movie. And then I switched it around, and then I switched it back, and then I switched it back. So I was fighting with Warrior up there with my top 2 because of exactly what you said. It's a very emotionally powerful movie.
Yes.
Primarily because of how Tom Hardy carries himself, as like that there's something clearly that fucking hurt this dude, but he is in like full dude fashion. I'm fine, and I'm gonna fucking beat everyone else's ass, and I'll be fine without him.
You said it. Joel Edgerton's great in that movie. Like, he's amazing in it, and that might be, for a guy that's had a career that's lasted forever, how many years? That's one of Nick Nolte's best movies. He is amazing in that movie. Like, it's crazy how good he is in it. And
the scene where he's been sober hotel for years. Yeah, he's in the hotel.
Oh, you know what scene you're talking about when you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's listening to Moby Dick. He's drunk for the first time because his sons, who he thinks he's gotten back and that he's gonna be able to rekindle their family, they are not. And Tom Hardy does not like him and is not going to let him be his dad again. And he just kind of gives in, and Tom Hardy shows up to his hotel room and he's fucking blackout drunk, just completely, his dad with his own emotional damage from everything of him being a horrible father and a drunk, basically breaking his family up. And Tom Hardy has this moment where this like dude who is this monster in this movie, who's beating the shit out of people in the cage, hates everyone, does not want to give in or show anyone any emotion.
And he loathes his father.
And he hates his dad because he is the reason why his life turned out how it is. but he has like it's kind of like I'm mad at you and I'm upset with you for the things you've done, but you're also my dad. And he pulls him up on the bed, he wraps his arms around him, and just to be like, it's okay. And like that scene makes me fucking tear up every time.
It's one of the most
so good.
It is one of the most powerful scenes in a movie that you will ever see. And it's insane because the one thing that movie does great too, and I know we're kind of going off on a tangent about how good Warrior is, but like one of the things that movie does so great too is like these two brothers hate their father for everything he did and he was and all that. But you never see that. So you see this broken old man. This entire movie, you see this broken old man who everybody hates. And you feel bad for him. There's this scene where like he goes to Joel Edgerton's house and there's like his granddaughter who he's never met and he sees her and he's like, can I just say hi? And he's waving at her. And it's one of those like, who's that old man? And that's nobody, you know? And it's one of those, and you're just like, oh, that's awful. But you don't, at the same time, you don't understand. So you have this sympathy for this man, these people, these two brothers just hate. And it's such a good, powerful movie. Highly underrated. Like, I don't know why that movie doesn't get the flowers it should, because it's
because
great.
There's a lot of people that haven't seen it.
I agree.
Because they think that it's just this UFC fight movie.
It's not at all. And
that's not at all what the movie is about. It's a fucking great emotional movie. And it's not this like MMA fucking fight action. It's not a Jean-Claude Van Damme tournament fighter movie. It's a broken family with two of some of the best actors of our recent time. Worth watch. So
yeah, worth the watch. All right. Here we go.
What you
How
got?
rotten is your tomato, Kyle? Are you ready?
Let's see. I'm ready.
We've got 5 pairings for you. Okay. They're all close. Okay. And they all have a little something in common. Okay. So our first 2 movies are sequels. Our first still trying to talk like Jody
watching Bike Riders.
Our first 2 movies are sequels to beloved superhero movies. And they are sequels that in some cases, people think the sequel here is better than the original.
Okay. All right.
So from the 1980, we have the Christopher Reeve starring Superman 2, Come Son of Jor-El, Kneel Before Zod. And we have from 1992, Batman Returns.
Oh, you son of a bitch. What? So
who's higher and what are the scores?
I think Batman Returns should be ranked higher, but because it had such backlash at the time when it came out because of McDonald's, Superman 2 I'm going to rate at Rotten Tomatoes has higher. And I'll put Superman 2 probably at like an 84, and then I'll have Batman Returns at an 83. I don't think it was loved when it came out like we love it today.
Kyle, you are correct. Superman 2 is higher. Superman 2 was an 83.
Oh shit.
Batman Returns was an 82.
Oh, that was
nicely done.
Damn.
Bravo.
Go.
Yeah.
I did not look at that before this episode. That was
you didn't know what movies I was picking, so yeah, that's pretty good.
Damn.
All right.
Bring it
Here
on.
we go. Okay, so we've got 2 stop motion animated classics from Leica Studios. The 2009 terrifying family film, Coraline.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 9. It's like,
oh no, not 9. Coraline.
Okay.
And the 2012, I hope you've seen it, Paranorman.
Oh, I love Paranorman.
Excellent.
And I hate Coraline. It is, you said Coraline, and I got the chills. That movie is so creepy.
It's coming out. They're doing an anniversary, a 15-year anniversary. It's coming out in theaters in 3D.
God, stay away God. I feel like Coraline has more of like a cult love for it. Like people love it because it's super creepy. And Paranorman was more of like the fun family film, I guess. I love them both. My kids love Paranorman for Halloween time. I'm going to say Paranorman's ranked higher, and I'm going to put Paranorman at an 82, and I'm going to have no, that's not right. I'm going to put Paranorman at probably like an 87, and I'll have Coraline at an 86.
Coraline's higher.
Fuck. I knew it. I should have went with my gut.
But you're close. Coraline was a 91. Paranorman was an 89. So you were close again.
But in my heart, I thought maybe Coraline is like more loved for like the animation quality, like very like Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right.
And just kind of a fucking weird ass story. Anyways, that's not shocking.
Right.
But damn it.
Okay. All right. So we've got 2 20 teens perennial action favorites for this one.
Here we go.
We have the original 2014 John Wick, the first one.
Nice.
And we have the 2012 Carl Urban classic, Dread.
Oh. Well, obviously we're going to go based on the which franchise has multiple movies and which one doesn't. So I'm going to have John Wick ranked higher. Mm-hmm. I think John Wick should be in the 90s, but people really got onto it once the second movie came out, and then it really took off. So I'm going to have it as an 85, not to stick in that realm, but I'm just feeling like where these movies are. 85, and Dread probably got an 81 because nobody understood it or got it, but it should be a 95 because it's a damn near perfect movie.
You are on absolute fire.
No way.
John Wick is higher. It's an 86.
Oh my God.
And Dread is an 80. So you were one off again.
Oh, and I hate Rotten Tomatoes because I feel like their scoring is all off. But God damn it. This is, I'm not meaning to be Nostradamus here, but
right.
I'm guessing from the hip. You had a couple last episode that were the exact
numbers. Did. I got a couple that I nailed.
Exact number. So,
but you're right there. All right. This one's tough. Okay. 1980s sci-fi action classics. The 1984 Terminator.
Okay.
And 1987's RoboCop.
Okay. Again, I'm going to go with which one got a ton of movie franchise and which one didn't.
Well, they both kind of did.
Well, yeah, I guess RoboCop did get a reboot. Well, I got its sequels too.
Well,
good point.
But RoboCop, so Terminator and RoboCop obviously are both classics. These are both very high scores, right? Terminator benefited because its sequel was better. RoboCop,
that's a good point,
did not have a better sequel.
Don't try to talk me into my scores here.
I'm just telling you.
Fuck. I'm gonna say Terminator is higher. Which, if we're talking about the franchise, it's different because we love T2, but I fucking love RoboCop.
Yep.
Number 1 and number 2. I love number 2 RoboCop probably better than number 1, but I like RoboCop 1 more than I like Terminator 1, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Anyways, I would agree.
But I'm gonna put Terminator higher because Terminator is more well-known franchise at an 88, and then I'm going to put RoboCop, the original one, probably at an 85. That's what I got.
So Terminator,
both 90s. They should be 90s.
Terminator's higher. Terminator's a perfect 100%.
What? No way.
Terminator is one of the very few 100% movies you can find on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, that is shocking. Is T2 rated?
No, because we had that. You gave that one to me a couple weeks ago, or I gave it to you.
I know, but when you think of those two movies, which one feels like the more perfect movie?
Agree.
That's shocking.
I know.
100% for Terminator 1.
The original Terminator is 100%.
Damn.
RoboCop is a 92.
That's shocking.
I
Honestly,
agree.
I didn't think that it was fun.
It's going to be that high.
Liked it when it came out. I know that it's like a big cult classic that everybody loves it. I think it's a Movies That Made Us episode, or maybe it's something similar type of show.
It is. Yep, it is.
But like, it does a good job of like rekindling that, like, oh yeah, like this movie was fucking cool.
It's epic.
But I didn't think that the public liked it when it came out because it was fucking gory as shit.
It was almost
super adult.
It was almost X-rated. Yeah, because of all the violence.
Damn. All right. Love to hear that. Good for you, RoboCop. 90s. Right. Love that.
Last one. Okay, so this is funny because I was originally going to do Rush Hour and The Mummy.
Okay.
But they had the exact same score, so I couldn't do it.
Oh, nice.
So I went.
That's funny because I would say I like both of those movies almost equally.
Right. They were both a 62, just so you know.
The original Mummy? Mm-hmm. Are you talking about like this, like back in the 50s?
No,
or are we talking about like Brendan Fraser's Mummy?
62.
Get the fuck out of
Rush
here.
Hour.
Get out.
62. They were both 62.
Get out of here. Rotten Tomatoes, you rear your ugly head.
I decided, since both of their sequels came out in the same year, 2001, we're going to do The Mummy Returns and Rush Hour 2.
Both, I think, are more liked. Maybe those first ones came out because they were new franchises. No one was really expecting what those were going to be, and that's why they weren't popular when they came out. But Mummy Returns had The Rock in it. That was a huge deal. That was the return, or the premiere of The Rock as a movie star. And Rush Hour 2 was arguably, I think I said last week that was my favorite of all of them, is Rush Hour 2. Rush Hour 2 or The Mummy Returns? Well, I'm going to say I want Mummy Returns to be a higher ranked movie because I fucking love that movie and that franchise, even though we don't really talk much about it. I'm going to say Mummy Returns is higher, and I'm going to give it a 75. No, a 78. And then Rush Hour 2, I'm going to say is lower with a 77. That's what I'm going with.
Rush Hour 2 is higher, and I knew you would never get anywhere close to these scores, and I was right.
No way.
Rush Hour 2 is a 50.
Oh, no, they went the wrong direction.
And The Mummy Returns is a 46.
What? Dude, okay, time out. Now I'm kind of confused. I'm a little nervous. Am I the only one that liked the Mummy movies? Like, what? Maybe I'm the only one that watched those movies, but
I liked them both. I don't know if I would say The Mummy Returns is a better quality movie than the first one. It's definitely a bigger spectacle and more action. Yeah. But is it a better movie? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of men out there that basically had a sexual awakening when they saw Brendan Fraser in the first Mummy, and probably a lot of females out there too. Like that movie, those movies are great. To be in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s for one or two of the Mummy, that's shocking. And also shocking with Rush Hour because I feel like those were huge movies. Like when they came out, like everyone was seeing those movies. Everyone can quote the Rush Hour movies, right? It's crazy.
I have glaucoma. I do.
I can't believe that they're that poorly rated.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to go back and watch them again.
You did good though. I mean, like the other movies, you were pretty damn close.
That was pretty good. Nowhere near.
I knew you weren't. That's why I saved that one for last, because I was like, he's going to have these way higher.
Yeah,
good though.
90 for Rush Hour.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, no, that was good. Good job.
I like this segment.
I do too. It's fun.
It's fun.
It's entertaining. So, That takes us into the end of the episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, please click that like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Click that bell so you get notifications of when new episodes come out, which is 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesdays.
You're crazy.
I know. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, hopefully you're listening to us on one of many podcast networks such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and many others. You can also see some of our short clips and videos on social media at Movie Dads Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We're back next week for an I Can't Believe You Haven't Seen It. My turn. The 2010 Russell Crowe starring Robin Hood. I've never seen it.
God, I'm excited to go back to that movie because it's been a while since I've watched it, but fucking hell yeah. What a fun episode that's going to be.
Yeah, that'll be a good time. So we'll be back next week, like I said, for Robin Hood. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Leave us comments. We want comments. Hopefully tell us if you like this Rotten Tomato segment because we're kind of digging it. But we've gotten zero feedback on it. So I'd love to get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.
Bye.